What's going on, everyone? Happy New Year to you if I hadn't had a chance to wish you that yet. So, some exciting news on the topic of cap salary, right? So, when we look at the projected salary cap for the 2021 season, the new year started off on a good note for the Eagles. So, basically, what happens is a projected salary cap gets released to the owners every December. And I guess this morning they decided to release that, or at least update some of the systems to display that. So overnight we went from having a $176,100,000 projected salary cap for the 2021 season to an NFL now very lenient and mandated $199,100,000 salary cap. That's an increase of $23 million overnight. That is very good news for the Philadelphia Eagles, guys, because we went from being 90-some million over the cap to only being 70 million over the cap, and that's a good place to find ourselves in terms of getting back to the cap. So with that said, guys, I want to expose a little light on who are some of the guys who are probably very susceptible right now to being cut, because we got one more game, guys, and I promise you, within the next 30 to, I'd say, 45 days following this game, the axe is coming down, guys. So, all right, y'all. Let's get into it. What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Stephen Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever it is you get around to watching us. Once again, guys, my name is Stephen Hyder, and this is Gate City Sports Channel. All right, y'all. So if I haven't had a chance yet, Happy New Year's, all that stuff, right? But let's get to today's topic, guys, because this is a big topic. I want to talk about the 8 players that are likely to be cut, June 1st cut, or traded. Okay? I found and I pointed out 8 guys that are likely now to get us under that threshold, right? To get us back on the positive side of the cap. I sat through and I was playing with some numbers late last night because, we're up waiting for, the ball to drop. So I found a bunch of stuff here, guys. And I got to be honest with you. I hate to say it, but we're going to lose some talent here. There's just no doubt about it. We got to hope the younger talent can fill in here. But with, the fear of delaying this too long, guys, let me go ahead and let me jump into today's topic. And let's start off with the guys who are likely to be cut or traded. All right, here we go, guys. Round 1. The first guy I want to bring up, guys, that is likely to be cut or traded. It's Derek Barnett. You say, why Derek Barnett? I'll tell you why. Number 1, Derek Barnett is due $10 million because we optioned his 5th year. Okay? But there's no dead money on it. So number 1, there might be a team out there that wants Derek Barnett, which makes him an attractive trade partner because he's a young pass rusher. But number 2, we can cut him with no liability at all. It's just a pure $10 million savings. We can trade him with no liability at all. It's just a pure $10 million savings. I like Derek Barnett. I know that this line struggled when, we lost Derek Barnett, when we lost Fletcher Cox, when we lost Josh Sweat last week. When those 3 guys were down, once Fletcher Cox went down, those 3 guys were down. That was it. Like, our pass rush just kind of evaporated. I get it. That's why I think we're going to be heavy in this draft on the defensive line. But the numbers are the numbers, guys. If you want to know the story of anything, I've always been told you follow the number. I'm just following the numbers. It leads to Derek Barnett, guys. He's my number 1. My number 2 guy, Marquise Goodwin. Nothing against Marquise Goodwin. He seems like a good guy. This isn't personal. It's business. Marquise Goodwin, right? He optioned out of the 2020 season, which was unfortunate. I would love to see him play, but I completely get his reasons. I support him for why he did it. Here's the thing, though. That got carried into 2021, and now he's due $4.5 million. The problem with that $4.5 million is it's not guaranteed. He's got no dead money on it. There's no liability for cutting him or trading him. So if a team wanted to take that $4.5 million because they needed a speedster, and they wanted a guy with, who's a veteran, but he's not over the hill per se, Marquise Goodwin is a very likely candidate to be cut or traded. There's just no doubt about it. I mean, I don't know the likelihood of there being a trading partner, But San Francisco found a trading partner in Philadelphia in the draft this past year. So never say never. It would be my thoughts. I would think, though, that we need the money prior to the draft. So Marquise Goodwin is either going to be traded before the league calendar year or on the league calendar year, or he's going to be cut. So number 2, Marquise Goodwin. My number 3 guy. This one isn't a mystery. It's Alshon Jeffrey. So Alshon Jeffrey has a little bit of interest here. So the savings for trading or cutting Alshon Jeffrey is just under $8 million. I'm just going to round it up to $8 million because it's that close. We're talking like a difference of like $3,000, guys, or so. So to me, you cut him, you trade him. That's $8 million. Of course, the Eagles would like to trade these guys more so than cut them, just because we get compensation back, no matter what it is. And we have a lot of holes to fill. We only got 52 players under contract, and I'm talking about getting rid of 8. So that only leaves you 44 under contract. You got to get up to 90 for camp and 53 on the season. So you get what I mean? So with that said, Alshon Jeffrey and the $8 million, it's likely he's cut or traded. Now, I will note this. If you were to June 1st designate Alshon, you would save $13 million. I don't think the Eagles will do that just because I think we need the money immediately, and I think there's bigger bang for your buck from letting guys go that would have been a lot less, but a lot more with a June 1st designation, if that makes sense. So you'd save a significant amount more of your cash, your capital, if you let other guys go underneath that circumstance. I think Alshon is more likely to be traded or cut than June 1st designated, personally. But he's my number 3 guy, cut or traded. Number 4, it's Djax, man. Djax has a very similar situation to Alshon Jeffrey, to where you could cut him, you could trade him. If there's a team out there that wants that veteran wide receiver that's got game-breaking speed and abilities, who is a lot closer to a championship right now than the Eagles are, maybe you can get a very late-round pick for Djax. And it's sad to say that, but it's true at this point. You're probably looking at late-round picks for Alshon Jackson because the guy hasn't played really in the past 2 years. You're probably looking at a 7th rounder, maybe a 6th rounder. And that's if any team really wants him, to be quite honest. Now, if you trade or cut him, it's $5 million, okay? That $5 million is really nothing to scoff at because it's significant savings. Now, just like Alshon, though, I will warn everybody, if you were to technically June 1st designate this guy, you would go from $5 million to $9 million, but you only get 2 of those June 1st designations, and I don't think we're going to waste those on Alshon and Deshaun, to be honest. So, right there, that's 4 guys I've given you. That's $27.5 million worth of savings right there. Significant. These are significant savings. But I got one more for you. My number 5 guy who's likely to be cut or traded. This one's going to sting, guys, because I like this player a lot. This is a guy that I was not in favor of having this conversation about with earlier in the year, but now that we saw the lack in production, we saw the rise of Goddard completely coming into the role of being not only an F-tight movement fullback / tight end, but an actual true Y tight end. And we saw Richard Rodgers be able to serve a similar role and be a serviceable backup. Just need to keep Richard Rodgers healthy. I think Zach Ertz is susceptible here, guys. He's number 5 on my list. Here's the deal. You cut or you trade Zach Ertz, you're saving yourself $4.7 million, okay? Just like Deshaun Jackson, just like Alshon Jeffrey, you could technically June 1st designate Zach Ertz for a cut too, and he would go from $4.7 million to $8.25 million, but I don't think that savings is significant enough to warrant that when there's other guys who will give you a lot more bang for your buck on that. So, Zach Ertz is my number 5 guy who is likely to be traded or cut. If you look at it, guys, Zach Ertz will probably, at this point in his career, might get you some 3rd rounders. Okay, you might be able to get a 3rd or 4th rounder out of Zach Ertz. And be honest with you, we're going to need picks. So I don't know how many of these guys we could really trade. I do think Zach Ertz is definitely one of those guys that will probably likely be traded. You definitely will probably be able to get something for him. Derek Barnett, I think, is a likely one that could potentially be traded too. So there's 2 of those guys I do think, have more likelihood to be traded than some of the other guys, although we would love to trade all these guys. Let's just be real. All right, y'all, moving on. The next round I want to talk about are those who are likely to be given that June 1st designation. So I'm going to give you 3 candidates for the 2 early June 1st designations. All right, y'all ready? Here we go. June 1st designation candidate number 1 is a big one. Give me a second. I'm going to explain why this is probably going to happen. There's never a 100% guarantee on anything. And I know he already restructured his contract. Money's money, guys. If we traded Fletcher Cox, we'd only save about a little under $3 million. If we cut Fletcher Cox, we'd only save about a little under $3 million. Fletcher Cox is worth a lot more than that. So I don't think he's likely to be traded. I don't think he's likely to be cut, although I won't rule it completely out. You can't ever rule anything completely out. But when you're in as big as a hole as the Eagles are, and let's make no mistake, we went from being $90 million to $70 million, carried the $20 million over from this season, now you're only $50 million. You want more bang for your buck than $3 million for an all-pro player. This is why I think he's likely to be a June 1st designated cut. Because you go from just under $3 million that if you June 1st designate him, it's a $16 million savings. You take the $50.724 million we were over the cap, and then you take the 5 players I gave you, which gave you about a $32 million savings, right? So you look at that, and you're only like 18, 19 million over the cap at this point, right? Look at that number, guys, and just let that kind of sink in a little bit, that 18, 19 million over the cap. You get 16 of it back just by letting Fletcher Cox go. He's one of the biggest significant savings you can have. It's not a guarantee it's going to happen, but it could. It could absolutely happen. My number 2 guy, who is likely to be June 1st designated, potentially traded, but I doubt it, is Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham. So if we just cut him or trade him, the savings is only $716,000. To me, I'd rather have Brandon Graham on the roster than fret over $716,000. We can find that somewhere else. But here's the thing, though. That $716,000, if you give it a June 1st designation, turns into $13 million savings. $13 million, along with Fletcher Cox's $16 million, gives you a significant surplus in cap space. At this point, by trading or cutting Alshon Jeffrey, Derek Barnett, Marquise Goodwin, Deshaun Jackson, or Zach Ertz, and then June 1st designating Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, you likely have a $8 to $10 million surplus. Now, that fast, that quick, that can happen. I don't want to see Brandon Graham go, guys, but you have to be realistic. You have to follow the money. You have to know where the savings are. This is where the savings is. It's just truthful, guys. I'll give you a third option that could be a counter to this point, to maybe keep Brandon Graham on the roster but get rid of a different defensive lineman in order to get you to a potential place of cap savings here. Number 3 guy, who is likely to be June 1st designated or potentially traded, is Malik Jackson. Here's the thing. You cut Malik Jackson outright or you trade Malik Jackson, your cap savings is only like $967,000. You can round it up and say $1 million if you want. I think Malik Jackson, although he's been a little disappointing, he's worth way more than $1 million. It would be nice to get picks. I'm not going to rule it out. I'm not going to rule out that Malik Jackson couldn't be moved if there's a potential suitor who wants him. And he's still a talented football player. You're not going to get top of the line value from Malik Jackson anymore. You're probably talking 5th rounder, 6th rounder. But we need players. We need bodies. There's just no way getting around that, guys. We need players. We need bodies. Malik Jackson, though, here's the thing. Here's the kicker. That savings goes from $967,000 on a June 1st designated trade, okay? Or, I'm sorry, goes from $960,000 for a trade or a cut to $10 million if you designated a June 1st designated trade or a June 1st designated cut. So you go from $1 million basically to $10 million. That's significant cap savings. Clearly, that along with like Fletcher Cox, or that along with even Brandon Graham, if you want to keep Fletcher Cox, that's giving you the cap savings you need to be in the positive. Okay? We got to keep in mind, the moves we make have to be made because not only do you have to get back under the cap, but you have to get back under the cap enough to actually sign your draft picks. You're going to need about $6 million or so to do that. $6-7 million to sign your picks. Like, first round picks cost about $3 depending on where the value is or where they're selected. But a top 10 pick is going to cost you over $3 million, guys. There's no doubt about that. Year one, probably. So we have to get to those savings. We have to get to those savings first and fast, okay? So these are the candidates. My concluding thoughts. My concluding thoughts are this. Will this team be less talented if you don't have Alshon Jeffrey? If you don't have Derek Barnett? If you don't have Marquise Goodwin? If you don't have Deshaun Jackson? If you don't have Zach Ertz? If you don't have Fletcher Cox? If you don't have Brandon Graham? If you don't have Malik Jackson? Sure. In theory it is. In practicality, we've played a lot of games without these guys. I don't think it's fair to say Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham has been fairly healthy and out there. I think that's an unfair thing. But the rest of these guys, we've played significant games without them. So how much are we really losing by doing that? I don't know. But these are the 8 guys as you look at this. They're the guys that are likely to be cut, guys. There's just no way around it. All right, y'all. That's what I got for y'all today. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Don't forget, if you want to support the channel, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate y'all's time. This is my justification of why I chose these 8 players. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you want to look at the salary cap calculator and play around with these figures and see it for yourself, go to overthecap, overthecap.com/calculator, calculator/Philadelphia. I shouldn't have to spell that one for you guys. All right, hashtag or tack, not hashtag, I'm sorry, tack mark Eagles, EAGLES / okay? You can go there and you'll be able to play around with all this calculator stuff and you can see it for yourself, all right? All right, y'all, I'm out of here. I appreciate y'all tuning in, and I'll see you on the next video, guys. Peace.